This episode is being recorded out of Shoptalkpodcast Studios in Oak Park, Michigan. For more information, visit www.shoptalkpod.com.
Live from Detroit, live from Detroit, live from Detroit.
Pink suits with hats to match, big crocodiles and Cadillacs. You looking for the fattest sacks? This is where it's at. Windows tinted, seats fully reclined. Keep the hands on the burner, cause niggas know that it's money on our mind.
Yo, what up, though? It's your man Jay Johnson, a.k.a. the tinfoil hat titan, a.k.a. the conspiracy realist, a.k.a. the technology snob, Steve Jobs Jr. Don't text me with your green bubbles, a.k.a. I only debate my equals, everybody else I teach. Also known as Juice, because all the girls say J.U. Ice. Young Caesar, because you know you can't roam without me, mister. If you did it, I've done it before. I had it, got mad at it, don't want it no more. A.k.a. if you don't like me, fight me. I got kicked out of Noah's Ark because they couldn't find another animal just like me. I am the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. What up? Now, normally this is the part where Dame come in with his introduction. Dame's not with us this week. If you following on social media, you know he has some family issues that he's going through, and he's asking for your prayers and support. So just send prayers up and support for our brother Dame. And we're going to hold it down without him this week. But we do have a very special guest this week. And, brother, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. I'm Brother Mouchettee Muhammad of the Nation of Islam and Ceasefire Youth Initiative. And I'm very happy to be with you on your show, dear brother. I
definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and kick it in the shop with us.
Yes, sir. Shop talk.
Yeah. So, from an episode we did a couple months ago, actually around January show, we had my good friend Don in the building, and we had a very heated exchange. Two brothers wanting the exact same thing.
That's right.
And
it got a little heated. It got a little heated, but it was out of love.
Absolutely, 100%.
It was all out of love.
All out of love. And my brother Don Vine, introduce yourself, Don.
I'm Brother Donnie. I'm just here to support my brother Mouchettee.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm here to support you, the podcast. You know, I've seen the Al Fatiha, the beginning of it. You know what I'm saying? It's to the point now where it's on that upswing. Every single episode is just growing and growing, and I'm proud of you, brother.
Well, I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it.
I love it.
Don, you know, I've been knowing Don for over 10 years now, and he speaks very highly of you. He said tons of good things about you. There was a couple things that stood out, and I wanted to bring you in and just talk about it and chop it up.
Let's talk. Let's talk.
Now, one of the many things he had told about you, because we love hip hop on this podcast.
Yes, sir.
Now he told me that you are a mentor to the one and only Jay Electronica.
Yeah, that's my little brother. Good guy, crazy as hell, but good guy. That's my little brother. And yeah, Jay, we really, which his name is actually Timothy.
Okay.
I don't know if the people knew that. Don't call him Timothy when you see him.
Breaking news here on Shoptalkpodcast.
Right. So, but we knew brother. Brother actually was a 5%er before he came into the Nation of Islam, and we were in Atlanta. We were in the studio down at JD's studio in Atlanta, and one of our brothers in Atlanta, who was one of the major producers in Atlanta, his name's Cool Ace. Brother Brian X for the Nation of Islam. He was doing his album, and there was a specific spot that Brother Johnny Muhammad, we call him Johnny Audible, he was supposed to do, because whenever you came into the studio with Cool Ace makes sure everybody who's ever in the studio is on his song that he's doing.
Everybody got a
somehow
job.
You gonna. I don't care if you just somebody brought you as a friend. He gonna say hey on them. He makes sure that you're a part of it. That's the kind of atmosphere he likes to create when he's in the studio. So, Brother Johnny was supposed to do a particular verse, and so this brother was sitting on the floor writing. So we say, brother, what are you writing? He said, I'm writing a rhyme for it, you know. And Johnny, I looked at Johnny looked at me. He said, brother, go on, do what you do. Let's see what you do. Brother got in there and lit the mic up.
Yeah, yeah.
Hence, we now know Jay Electronica.
Absolutely.
So that was the beginning of Jay. But, you know, those who know Jay Electronica, he's a vagabond. You know, you here's a brother who he'll hop on a plane and live on a bus. You know, he asleep in a bus terminal. That's the kind of guy he is. But before there was the major social media, he became a social media god through MySpace.
Yes.
You know, this was way before Facebook.
Yeah.
But through MySpace, he became like a social media god. And he used that as a platform. And he made himself almost like this ethereal figure. You know what I mean? And so
I've been following since the MySpace days.
yeah. So, and out of that, I mean, he got an international following. And ultimately, when you look at him now, here's a man who got Nah Baby by Erykah Badu and signed to Rock Nation and, you know.
Allegedly a Rothschild connection.
Not allegedly.
Well, you know.
Actual fact.
Okay. I mean,
Actual fact. You know, without putting all of my brother's business out. Yeah, he's Kate. Her name is Kate Rothschild.
Yeah.
She's an heiress to the Rothschild dynasty. And, yeah, I've actually talked with Kate a number of times, actually. But, yeah, you got a young brother from the Third Ward Projects in hip-hop go over and infiltrate the Rothschild family. You know,
that's
I mean,
crazy when you think about it. Think about who he is.
Yeah, you got it from the Third World Project. And, man, you should see the tabloids, you should see the tabloids over in London. You know, because the paparazzi in London run and they follow the aristocrats over there. The paparazzi over here, they follow the quote-unquote celebrity.
Yeah.
Big difference. Celebrities over there don't get chased down. It's the aristocrats, those who set policy and change the world. And so here you got a young dude, brother, from the Third Ward Projects in Louisiana, because a lot of people don't know he's from New Orleans. A lot of people think, you know, he's from New York, and some people thought he was from Detroit. Some thought he was from Atlanta.
First song I heard with him was Exhibit C, which Dame actually put me on, and he started naming Detroit streets Hartwell. I'm like, wait a minute, those not like the quote unquote 8 Mile.
Right.
Like, he sound like he been here.
Oh man, brother. Oh,
you know what I'm saying? But now I understand why.
Yeah, here sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, brother, that's my little brother. He's like a gypsy. You know, he's a vagabond. You know, he the type of brother. As a matter of fact, give you just a quick story. We went over to South Africa. We was going to South Africa to shoot his autobiography, so to speak. Is kind of, we had the cameras following us around, and we were over in South Africa for about a month. But on our way there, we had to stop in New York first. And so we were in the studio with I was actually in the lobby at this particular time, but we know what happened. We were in the studio with Kanye West. And Kanye, you know, Poe brother, he's a very interesting brother. He's really depressed. Jay gave Kanye some kind of something that he had, like a violin or something, some kind of instrument or something. And Kanye really teared up, was like, man, I'm used to people trying to get things from me as opposed to giving things to me. But then when we got to South Africa, now mind you, we had a 12-hour flight from New York to Amsterdam. We had a 2-hour layover, and then we had another 12-hour flight from Amsterdam to Johannesburg. Then, of course, after that, we had a 3-hour drive from Johannesburg to Mafeking. So we was loopy by the time we reached our destination. Right. However, when we got to Johannesburg, where we were going, it was a triplex studio. It was almost like just a whole compound, studio, gated community or whatever. And they sent drivers to come and pick us up in Johannesburg. Well, we're in the gas station in Johannesburg buying some strange chips or whatever out of the gas station in Johannesburg, and some South African brothers. Actually, you know, we talking. They like, oh yeah, you are from America, this, that, and the third. And he opens up the where our luggage was and grabs a trumpet that he paid major money for and gives it to a South African.
Just
Out of here. There you go, brother. But this is how Jay Electronica is. He will give you everything. He will give all the way till he has nothing. You know, that's just how he is. People will have to kind of go, Jay, you can't, man, hold on, man. But that's just how he is. He's that loving spirited brother who will give away everything. But at the same time, if he needs to do something like do an album, don't depend on him.
Yeah, because he won't give that. He won't give us that album.
Not gonna happen.
Did he ever go through processing class or anything? Or?
He's brother Timothy X. He's brother Timothy. Matter of fact,
he got his ex in
Atlanta. In Atlanta. Okay. Matter of fact, it was Dr. Mouchettee Muhammad, Jay Electronica. Who else? Brother Wakil, who's wrote a number of books. Yeah. All of them, Brother Johnny, all of them were the clique. Yeah, they were all that Atlanta crew. Atlanta was on fire at one time, brother. I mean, they had, because of course Atlanta is this college city, you know, where you got, of course, the Spelmans and the Morehouses, and this is where they were going. But then at that particular time, you had Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who was the minister in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. It's like my second favorite person in the world.
Yeah, Dr. Khalid, who was the minister in Atlanta. And then you had Firebrand Minister Tony Muhammad was down there working as well, who's now our West Coast regional minister. I mean, Atlanta had, and of course you still also had the Rock of the South, Abdul Rahman. He was down there. So Atlanta was full of fire, man. Yep. And then it was during that particular time when we were looking at the Cosby Show in different worlds. So, you know, it was all about Ka Psi and Omega Psi Phi and Alpha Phi Alpha, whatever, whatnot. So it was during that time when we were listening to the KRS-Ones and the Public Enemies of the world. Right. So that time was very ripe for young students and young black men and women to be educated about themselves. So he came up out of that.
So I know you said he was a 5% at first. I've been studying on Wesley Muhammad. I know he came out of the 5%ers
all of them,
as well.
Yep.
Do a lot of folks who go through the nation come through there first? Is that normal or?
No. Here's the thing. You got to keep in mind that the 5% Nation of Islam is an offshoot of the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
Clarence 13X, who they call the Father Allah of the 5%er, he was in the ministry class in New York. And you had a brother, now mind you, in the Nation of Islam, we have what is called restrictive laws of Islam.
That's what I was telling you about before he came. Right,
so you have restrictive laws of Islam, and that means these are the things you cannot do.
Okay.
Some brothers can't seem to fall into that. However, the knowledge and wisdom that the Nation of Islam presents is so magnetic and attractive that I might not be morally strong to hold on to the laws, but these teachings opens my mind up, and it feeds into the brothers who are in the streets. So they respected. See, they didn't want to hear I have a dream.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's not something that fit the nature of us as black men, but what we teach fit that, but the moral balance was kind of off. So Clarence 13X, he left the mosque, but he took the supreme wisdom with him and began to teach in the boroughs of New York. And the brothers immediately gravitated towards it. And in our teachings, we say that you have the 85%, the 10%, and the 5%. The 85% are the blind, deaf, and dumb to the knowledge of themselves and living the beast life. But then you also have the 10% who are the ones who control the 85%. But then you have the 5% poor righteous teachers who are charged with teaching the 85%. At the behest of the 10%, of course. So that's where that 5%er come from.
Okay.
And Clarence 13X began to teach that, and, you know, it resonated. And then the language of it, you know, the black God, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad we teach, we ask the question, who is the original man? And we have to answer that question. The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. Now, interesting enough, the 5%ers, they say the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization and God of the universe. That's what they added to it, But again, what we're dealing with is an offshoot of the Nation of Islam, which is very attractive to the brothers in the street based on the language and the knowledge that's being given.
Understandable. So let's talk about your relationship with. So when did you get into the Nation of Islam, or when did that pique of interest in your mind? Like,
man,
this is something amazing.
It's funny, if I've never told the story publicly.
I can speak on that one too.
Look, it's interesting. My journey into the Nation of Islam probably comes like many others.
Okay,
many others' journey. Some people talk about their journey as if they were this or that in the streets or whatever, whatnot. They heard it and all of a sudden they became this and that. But I literally, the first time I heard the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but being taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I was actually rocking up a kilo of cocaine. And my brother-in-law, his name's Phil Blevins, he was pretty much the supply man for us. His mother loved Minister Farrakhan, and she would play that. So, but while we were rocking up this kilo, breaking it down, rocking it up, he was playing a lecture called. It was not the goddamn white man. That was Khaled. It was what is the name of the lecture he did? The
minister? You talking about
the
minister?
minister, but it was an older lecture. He said the white woman is a bitch, and the white man is the son of a bitch.
I remember that. Yeah, it's that. That's not the. That's it's kind of that name. But
Yeah,
it
was something.
I
like
remember that. It was from like 80.
It was
88,
early.
89,
It was
88.
That particular one, because we ended up listening to another one, which was the white man is the devil. And we would listen to that, but I would hear little smidgens of it as we doing this work. But I was focused on getting this money.
Right.
Man, let's get this money, But my man dropped some science anyway. Man, my man dropped some science. Grabbed the jar, twist it. You know what I mean? This shit got to come back.
Right.
But so one particular day, his mom, she was listening to a lecture of the minister, and I noticed him. I said, "Is that man we was listening to the other day?" And this was probably about 3 days later. He said, "Yeah, that's Mr. Farrakhan," and he had a red bow tie on. And I asked Mom, my man's mother, which I used to call her my mama-in-law. I said, "Mom, can I see that?" She's like, "Here, now you bring me my tape back." And the name of this lecture was entitled "True Christian Love." True Christian Love. And he did it at Christ Universal Temple. So I took it home one day and I was bagging up a pound of weed, and I put the tape in, VCR, right? So this is time
old school.
I put it in. This is probably about a 3 hour and 20-minute lecture. It blew my high, literally blew my high. I watched it, and I was like, I will never smoke this weed again, literally. So once I sell this, I'm never selling weed again, right? So then I watched it, put it back in, and watched it again. So I'm there for like close to 7 hours watching this tape. Changed my life that quick. And then that was been the trajectory of me getting to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. Of course, I ended up reading Autobiography of Malcolm X. But I noticed that Minister Farrakhan mentioned the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but also in the book, Malcolm X, he mentioned the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I said to myself, hell, if he can make men like that, I need to find him. So I started looking for him. And one day I'm looking at Channel 62, and it was just this little rinky-dink channel at one point. I'm looking at it, and there was this rinky-dink talk show. And there was a little young, high-yellow, chunky brother, and he sounded just like Minister Farrakhan. I said, who is he? And then the little thing came under the little caption, Rasul Muhammad, son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm about to go find this dude. Where's your daddy at? That was my mind. Your daddy making some monsters, because every time I see somebody representing him, I need to roll with him. And so, ironically, the minister was coming. We had Savior's Day here in 1990. And by Allah's grace, I went and grabbed we had them laminates at the time, the clip-ons. I grabbed that. And then, ironically, somebody stole my car. But I had my sister drop me off down at Cobo Hall. And I went in. But when I put on a suit and a bow tie, it wasn't even a clip-on. It was one of them damn...
like the tuxedo.
Yeah, tuxedo bow tie. I put that on. I guess I had the high top fade. And I got there, and ironically, one of the brothers who was FOI, he must have thought I was FOI. He put me on post.
Wow.
I had only been to the mosque one time. He put me on post. And I stood on post for the minister that day, the entire lecture.
Let me interrupt real quick. That day, that Savior's Day, was like the pinnacle for this whole thing starting, at the time in Detroit. I mean, the energy. I mean, the energy was crazy.
It's something different when you there.
I mean, it is. I mean, but you see, the thing about it is that now you felt the energy of, what was it, last year? Or this, was it? Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, we went down last year.
Yeah.
So
You felt that energy, but we talking about the beginning.
Yeah.
That was that's in Joe Louis Arena. We were involved in building that.
Yeah.
So
I can speak very confident that, and no one will contest what I'm saying, that we were involved in building that spirit.
that's what's up.
And that
Make
energy.
no mistake about it.
So I was raised in the Baptist Christian household, and that's what I had known for most of my years or whatnot. I mean, through the Million Man March, I was 10 years old.
Okay.
So I didn't know anything about it. I saw the get on the bus, the joint like that, but I always heard what the media would say about about the Minister Farrakhan. I always heard rumors about different things, and I never experienced them for myself. 2005, 2006, whenever they had a service day, and it was at Ford Field. So this was around when Ford Field first. Might have been like 2007. And me and a couple of my partners, we went down there. Actually, we did music, and we put a skit on one of the albums, and it was Farrakhan talking about drugs, whatnot. And the little skit that we put on the album, I was like, something's there, So we went down to the Savior's Day, and while we was going down there on the radio, all the pastors were like, if you're a Christian, you're going out there, you should be ashamed of yourself, and there was just
Did you hear that in your church?
No, on the radio going down there. On
Okay.
Sundays, they got the. And I'm like, wow. And then different pastors and different things. I'm like, wow. So when I sat down there and I actually listened to them for myself, I'm like, all right, let me figure out what's going on.
Right.
And I was like, I don't see it. What's this?
All the fuss about.
What's all the fuss about? And when the message I got from that day, what I took away was whichever religion that you said that you claim or subscribe to, if you lived inside the laws and the tenets of that particular religion, then the world would be a better place. It wasn't him saying, you should come here, you should do this or what. And I got it. I'm like, okay. So then I wanted to know more. And then ever since then, I've probably watched every lecture, every YouTube video, and I'm like, I gotta meet this man. I want to. I'm like, I want to sit down. I want to have a conversation with. Now, granted, I'm looking at all this stuff mostly from 90, 92, 93, and I'm like, man, I can only imagine what y'all was doing while y'all actually there, because I'm watching it 20 years later.
Exactly.
I'm 20 years. I'm all riled up. I'm like.
And the beauty of truth, dear brother, is it's timeless. You can't date truth. You can hear some lectures by Brother Malcolm X back in 63 and 62 that's relevant to today. Many of us say, and you hear many people in your family or friends, close friends, and they say, if I was back with Jesus, I would have walked with Jesus, or if I was back with Martin Luther King, I would have been a part of the civil rights movement. And many talk that. But yet, today, the exact same thing is going on. We have the exact same thing with respect to what's happening to black men and women happening in this country as we speak. We have a Bull Connor in the White House now.
Yes.
And so those who say that they would have walked with Malcolm X or walked with Martin Luther King or walked with Marcus Garvey or walked with Noble Drew Ali or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad back in the day, you have your opportunity now to walk with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who sits in their seat right now in 2017. So the hypocrisy that comes out of our mouths is stunning. Because you have individuals who say what they would have done if they were. But you know, there's an old saying, my grandfather used to always say, if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk.
That's right.
So you have an opportunity now to show forth and prove. But many are running away because they're afraid one of their paycheck. Our people then sacrificed. Matter of fact, when Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, what they called at that particular time the Right Reverend, when he asked people to stop taking the bus and carpool or walk to work, they did it. And because they were taking the money out of their pockets, they said, hold on, man, we got to pass some kind of bill because this is hurting our pockets.
Meanwhile, we can't stop watching football.
We just asking for you to stop watching football, man. We asking you to not stop putting a dent in the couch with your backside and stop watching football. Hell, matter of fact, get up and for those little 2 or 3 hours.
Spend some time with your family.
Spend some time or go out and do some charitable work. But we can't even get off the couch from watching football. But our people back then walked miles to work, wore their shoes out. So it's funny how we applaud yesterday, but we stand not at all with those today. That's wicked, man. That just shows you, man. You know, we've become a shiftless and lazy people. You know, so at a certain point, Allah has to whoop us. And we going to get whooped. So, yeah, Allah's whooping on the white man right now. I don't know if you know it, but you got fires on one coast and rain on another one. You know, so he's getting whooped. But eventually the whooping going to have to come in the house. Because we, you know, when we're fired up, we make things change. Black people got fired up and said, let's put Barack in office. We came out in record numbers. You know, matter of fact, in Detroit, black people got fired up. And what did we do? We put Kwame Kilpatrick in office, you know, twice, as a matter of fact. But take a look at what we're doing now. We're not doing anything. We don't want to stand up. We're lazy.
Right.
You know, so how does that play to our children and our soon-to-be grandchildren? What would they say? Well, you know, my great-granddaddy did this, and they go, Daddy, what did you do?
You know, I saw a funny something online where somebody tweeted out and was like, Granddad, on that day, did you take a knee? Did you take a knee too? It was like, no, I just locked arms.
See,
that's like, what could you tell your grandson? Like, well, when this was happening, Granddad, did you participate? Well, you know, I'm a Lions fan, so I watched the games.
See, here's a league that has 100% white man ownership. 100%. That means there's no black owners. 31 white men control at least 80 to 95% black men. This is slavery.
True control because
slavery.
Because their contracts aren't guaranteed. So as soon as you say something, you out of here.
Or as soon as you break a leg, you're out of here. You better get your money up front.
Yeah.
You know, and so at the end of the day, you have white men who treat black men just like the slaves. Now, there's a book entitled $40 Million Slave. Anybody know this book? Get the book. It's mandatory reading. Particularly, it's so relevant today. But it shows you how these white rich men control the sports industry and particularly black men. You know, we're nothing but commodities. You know, they trade Negroes like they trade on the stock market.
You look at the combine, see how fast you run, jump, touch your muscles.
Yeah, that's slave. That's what they did when slave. Turn them around, let's see his butt cheeks.
Yeah,
that's what they do. They literally do that. So what you're seeing now is that's the modern day slave trade. But that's on the highest level,
right?
Because they're making millionaires. But what we don't know is that there's a thing called work release prison programs where they send prisoners out to rich farms to do work. As we speak, they lease them out. These prisoners ain't getting no money, man, so they doing slave work and they got to come back to
right
jail.
back, yeah.
That's slavery. This is the modern day slavery as we speak. We're living in it. And actually, there's actual slavery still going on in the Deep South, where they don't allow, they got literal slaves, and these slaves don't even know what's going on in your modern society. It still exists as we speak.
This week, Louisiana sheriff, he wants
yeah.
good
You
prisoners
heard
to stay jailed.
Yeah.
Because, we don't want the good ones. Because I guess the ones with short time and short stays, they're the quote unquote good ones, and they do all the good work. We want to keep them.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Oh, you got to hear what he said.
Like-
You got to hear what he said, because he said, and he's justifying it.
Yeah.
And he feels in the way he says what he says, he's right. He really feels like he's right.
We got to find a way to keep these, because
Yeah.
essentially, these the good niggas.
That's
These the
what I'm
ones are
saying. Yeah,
these are the
yeah.
submissive ones. They do what I tell them to do. They clean up. We got to find a way to keep these
He had the audacity to say it on a hot microphone.
and continue to go.
Yeah, yeah. And then you had one brother standing behind him. I don't know if you noticed it, but it was one black man standing behind him. You always got an Uncle Tom. You always got an Uncle Tom out there who massa, I think Malcolm put it beautifully. He said, whenever the master's house catch a fire, the slave, that Uncle Tom, fights harder to put the blaze out than the master would.
Khalid Muhammad said something very similar when he was on Donahue, and Donahue asked him, "Do you think that Jesse Jackson is a boot?" He was like, "To the best of his ability."
To the best of his ability. He called him Messy Jackson.
Jackson.
Messy Jackson.
Yeah.
And that was my brother. May Allah be pleased with Dr. Colin, and may he forgive him for all of his sins and his wrongs. That was my brother, man. He was a firebrand, but every man of God have under their leadership what is called zealots.
Okay.
And a zealot is one who's not necessarily under the control, but his love is unhindered.
Right.
And so, though a man of God will pass down rules and regulations and stipulations, a zealot won't abide by that. And a zealot will say, hey, man, look here, my love for you is what it is, but I ain't following them rules. You see, so I'm not saying Dr. Khalid was that zealot, but he had a zealot tendency. And by Allah's grace, I heard a brother actually tell me that Khalid said to him, and I can't verify because our brother's gone, but said that Brother Khalid said somewhat of the same thing that Brother Malcolm said to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where Malcolm said to the minister, I wish it was you being an example for me rather than me being an example for you. Mm-hmm. And Malcolm also mentioned, and he said it in his book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, which ultimately proved that a lot of that book was a lie. Once you read Manning Marable's book, I don't know if you ever read it, but if you can, get it. But Malcolm said in that book that he felt himself slipping and he couldn't catch himself. Mm-hmm. Brother Khalid actually said the same thing. Mm. He found himself falling, but he can't stop it. He's
going deeper and deeper.
I think I've probably found and watched everything on YouTube from Khalid. I enjoy listening to the brother speak. Him and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. It's just something about the class, the precision of their words. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book, The Four Agreements, the be impeccable with your words. Like that comes to mind when I listen to both of them speak. And not ashamed, but won't back down, and 100% precise and exact with everything.
You got to keep in mind, the cadence that the minister speaks in today is a different cadence than he spoke in the 70s and the 60s and even in the early 80s and 90s. There's a different cadence. Remember wisdom. See, when you have knowledge, this knowledge fires you up. It speaks to that rebellious side of it. It speaks to that fire side, that warrior side. Mm-hmm. That's knowledge. Knowledge is the acquisition of information.
Okay.
But once you get the information, you have to graduate from the information to wisdom. Wisdom is the practical application of the information that you received.
Okay.
But you can't stay there. You have to get to the next stage, which is understanding. Understanding is having gotten a result from the knowledge that you acquired and practically applied. So the scripture says, with all thy getting, get understanding. but you have to understand that there's a process. And so in the Nation of Islam, we have, before you can come and get your X, you got to go through a processing class. You got to go through the process.
Oh, so that's what you meant. Did he go through processing?
Yeah. You have to go through a processing class, and many have come through the process, didn't make it out of processing class.
Yep.
You've been to college. You have those who pledge. And then you got those who never make it. They call them eternal scrollers, right? They never made, they dropped line. So we have individuals who didn't make it out. They didn't make it out of processing class. But when you make it out of processing class and you come into the fold and get your name put on the Book of Lambs, there's a certain base of knowledge that you have in your head. Right. And that base is the knowledge of yourself and the knowledge of your enemy. When you have that, and just like if you're buying a house from me and I'm a realtor, my job is to give you the square footage of the house that you're buying, right? Walk you through it. Let you know this is what you're going to own, right? Well, we're taught that we're the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, and God of the universe. Then in our processing class, we're given the square mileage of not only the Earth, but the universe. We even give you, we tell you, look here, what is the population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America and all over the planet Earth? This was back in 1930. This when these numbers were actual fact in 1930. And we say the population of the original nations in the wilderness of North America is 17 million with the 2 million Indians makes it 19 million. All over the planet Earth is 4,400,000,000, right? But then when you find out what's the population all over the planet Earth, the white man is only 400 million. That makes us 11 to 1. Yep. We're not a minority. At all. So immediately it takes us out of the thinking of a slave into a thinking of a God. That's what the processing does. It strains away from you your slave mentality. It lets you know that we got 139,685,000 square miles of water. Lets you know we got 57,255,000 square miles of land.
Who put that information together?
That information was given to us by Allah himself, who came in the person of Master Brother Muhammad. Now, mind you, he gave us that information back in 1930. They didn't have the equipment that could actually measure the Earth or measure the Earth weighs 6 sextillion tons a unit, followed by 21 ciphers, which means that's 21 zeros after the 6. That's what that is. So who was able to measure the Earth and the water? Well, the scripture tells you about one who would come and he would place one land on the water and one land on the 1 foot on the water, one foot on the land, and he would give you the measurements. The scriptures tell you that this one will come and give you this information. And now if you take a look at the scientists today, they're slowly but surely inching toward our actual facts. So you got to keep in mind, we're taught that the earth is 93 million miles away from the sun. And then when you go and ask, if you say that to a white boy, the earth is 93 million miles, how do you know that? You know what they're going to do? They're going to Google it. Damn, you're right. How did you know that? You see? And then when you tell them, well, you you got, there's 57,255,000 square miles of land and 139,685,000, they're going to, let me see. That ain't exactly right, but that's pretty much almost spot on. When you tell them theirs is not spot on. Mine's is actual fact. See, theirs is they what are they doing? They just simply
Googling, guesstimate.
Pretty much guesstimating.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right. So what's your relationship with the nation currently?
I'm always a member of the Nation of Islam. And I was made a minister by Minister Rasul Hakeem Muhammad, who is the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I was never stripped of my title. However, I'm always a member of the Nation of Islam, and I help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan whenever he asks me. Many of the things that happened, particularly the last few times that he came here, I put it together. Yeah,
so you have a close relationship with the man himself.
I like to say that I'm one of the brothers who work behind the scenes. I don't need any accolades.
Respectable.
Let's just do the work. At the end of the day. But at some point, I scream out and be like, "You gonna stop taking my credit?" No, I'm just messing with you.
All right, so
this thing for life.
There you go.
I was telling Don, we was talking about a week or so ago, and I just realized that the Nation of Islam was an actual nation, as far as sovereignty, like flag, like
Constitution.
yeah, and
Restrictive law.
and when I think about it, I guess I've actually always heard it spoke in different, you know, when the ministers speak, but it never clicked. I never put in. So I guess I got the knowledge, but I did not understand it.
See, the difference with us is that the main thing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan demands and asks of this country is that they give us a separate state or territory
Yes.
of our own, and that this country should provide for us for the next 20 to 25 years until we're able to go for ourselves, being that they do the exact same thing with the Jews. Our tax dollars go to support Israel, a land that they stole from the Palestinians. And we support Israel to this very day with our tax dollars. But they haven't done anything to build this country.
If Israel, the Jewish persons as Japanese as well, like we give out money.
Well, what you're talking about with respect to Japan and Nagasaki, so you got to keep in mind, we dropped bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, right? So that's pretty much, reparations. That's pretty much what that is. We want to repair the damage that we had, that we've done. Matter of fact, we repairing the damage that was done in Germany. We're repairing damage that was done in Japan, but what about the damage that was done to black people in America?
Right.
So why is it? See, there's three things this country will never give up. Three things: white mice, monkeys, and black people. They ain't never giving them three up. You know why?
Why is that?
Because they experiment on all three of them. Those are their crash test dummies.
Yeah, definitely the white mice.
No, definitely monkeys and black people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just looking at something with the white mice, and they grow different body parts and stuff on them, and they not natural. I mean, they got red
They
eyes.
experiment on those three things.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, there's levels to their experiment. They'll try it on the mice, and then they got to go from mice to the monkey, because the monkey is quote unquote the cousin of but he's really their cousin, because in our teachings we learn where the monkeys come from. The monkey ain't no more than 6,000 years old, just like the white man. You see, matter of fact, the monkey is younger than the white man, and he's a product of the white man. True. So, but then you have black people, of which they experiment on. You can take a look at what they did with the Tuskegee experiment. Here you have them experimenting on us with the most virulent form of syphilis. You can go and take a look at everything. They've hit us with chemicalogical experiments, biological experiments, sociological experiments. There's a reason why they call black people condensed into one area the projects.
And at one point, every project across the country was located right next to a major freeway.
Yeah.
For a particular reason.
And if it wasn't, then if there was not a freeway, then they're gonna ransack and run a freeway through. Take a look at what happened here in Detroit. You had Black Bottom, and this is where all of your black stars would come, because you had segregation at that particular time, and black people couldn't go in the white bars and so on and so forth. So we had to create our own reality and entertainment district. Ours was called Black Bottom. And in Black Bottom, you had nightclubs, and this is where the old jazz greats like the Ella Fitzgeralds or the Thelonious Monks or the Charlie Parkers, and all of them would come and they would play in these places down in Black Bottom. You know what Black Bottom is now? It's the Lodge Freeway.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they put the Lodge.
They ran the Lodge through it. So here this is what they do with us. See, they up, like right now, the city of Detroit is being gentrified.
Absolutely.
They're pushing black people out. At one point, Detroit had 2 million people in it, right? Then it dropped down to 1 million, but it became predominantly black because of the influx of black people from the South. But then all of a sudden, after the 1967 riot, July the 23rd, 1967, ironically, that was the day I was born. Really? I was born the day of the riots, July 23rd, 1967.
You made all the white people leave.
Pretty much, So here they go. They had this thing called white flight.
Yeah.
And they began to leave. Well, then Detroit became the blackest city in America.
88% at one point.
Right now it's about 75%, but then it dwindled down from 1 million to 900,000, from 900,000 to 800, from 800 to 700. Now it's only 678,000 people in Detroit, and they're still losing people, but yet billions of dollars is being dumped into the city. So they're saying now the city is going to become too expensive for poor people to live in it eventually. Here's what's sad about this. You have downtown and midtown right now that already gentrified everybody. Because at one point, it was all you see was black people downtown, especially in the summer.
Yep.
But now you got white folks eating their cheese sandwiches and walking their dogs, right?
100%.
And jogging. But downtown and midtown has been gentrified. You got 687,000 people in the city, 530,000 of them is black people. And they live in surround town. So all the money is being dumped downtown and midtown. Now, here's the sad part. You have a predominant number of renters in the city, no homeowners. And so there's no programs to kind of push for home ownership, and white banks don't want to loan to poor people. You got one black bank in the city of Detroit. One black bank.
One.
First Independence.
That's it. One black. There's just one. And this is a 139 square mile city. 5 avenues that they call the 5 spokes, all of them converge into downtown Detroit. Did you know that's exactly how the roads are in Egypt? The roads converge into downtown right in Egypt. Detroit is set up just like Egypt.
Wow. Because I looked and I just found out that it's set up like a wheel and why it's 8
called
miles.
5 spoke. And here, the spokes are Grand River, Michigan Avenue, Gratiot, Jefferson, and the other one is, I think it's 4th Street. But if you take a look at those 5 spokes, they all go the breadth of the city. You don't have to get on the highway if you're downtown. You can hop on one of those major avenues and get to the east side of Detroit, get to southwest Detroit, get to the west side of Detroit. Just hop on a major avenue. You don't have to hop on the Lodge or 75 or 94. Just hop on one of the major avenues in downtown. It's going to take you to that side of town. They call them the 5 spokes. But along those 5 spokes, once it gets out of downtown and midtown, you start getting into the depressed areas.
Yeah.
And now, funny how cops can be on the scene in 2.5 minutes in downtown and midtown, but it's going to take them 2.5 hours to get to surround town. Right. It's a big gentrification going on in the city.
I mean, we saw the change when, we took that bike ride from 13 in Woodward to all the way down to Hart Plaza, and like we saw from Royal Oak, and it looked nice, and then once you cross,
it just started changing.
And you see it. You see it.
It
It's almost like overnight.
Good, bad, then you get back to good.
Yeah, worse than back to good.
But that's the surround town. That's the surround town. Well, imagine if we did this, and this is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us. Group economics, where we could start pooling our resources. Imagine if the 550,000 black people that are being disenfranchised in the city of Detroit would give $1, just $1 a month. $1 a month. That means even the poor can give $1 a month. You just go kick the curb and find $1, right? Give $1 a month. The first month you're gonna have about 500,000. The second month you're gonna have $1,100,000, right? If we took that $1,100,000 and began to buy up the properties in our neighborhoods, and then we hire companies to come in and we refurbish these houses. The money goes into the black bank. That one black bank, it strengthens that bank. Yeah. It's very simple on how we can do this. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave me the assignment to do this.
Okay.
He gave me this assignment to do this. Now, our problem is we don't have trust of black leadership.
Yes.
Because every black leader, particularly in the city of Detroit, has damaged the trust of black people in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because we have that black leadership that has damaged our trust, when somebody comes in with a good idea, they go, okay, that's a good idea, but who's going to control the money?
Right.
We had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and I was the same thing. I'm like, all right, the only way that you can do this is to put the money visible on a website where you can see where every single dollar goes.
Right.
At any
Gotta
time,
be transparent.
Whoever is in the program, so to speak,
and that's exactly what we're looking to do with this program. It's called the 5 Spoke Program. We're saying we're setting up a website that when every dollar comes in, you'll see the numbers
See
move.
where it's going.
Right? And then when we say we want to buy houses in a certain area, the people who are a part of the program, once you give $1, you get an ID. That means you can go on and check out wherever the money is going.
Yeah.
Everything is transparent. But then once we get a certain amount, we say we want to start, these are the areas to choose from. We're going to start on either Woodward, on this particular depressed area, or Grand River, or Michigan, or Jefferson, or whichever one, and we say, which one should we start with? And then the people vote. Whatever wins the vote, that's a democratic process.
Right.
Whoever wins the vote, we'll start there. Then we say, these are the companies, black companies, that we want to hire to begin the reconditioning of these houses. And then they say, okay, well, cool. We're going to go with that person. Good. Now, then we partner with the school in that area and say, can we get your 10th, 11th, and 12th graders? Some of them who want to come in and learn a trade, learn masonry, learn electrician, learn drywall, plumbing. They learn that trade, but they get credits going towards their graduation.
Right.
So not only are they learning a trade, but they're getting credits towards their graduation. When they graduate, they'll have a skill.
Right.
If they choose not to go to college, they'll have a skill. So now what we've just done was partner with a school. We've just rehabbed the house. We just made money. We just strengthened the black bank. Then we make sure that house is sold back to a black family in that area at a very low interest rate. See, this is how we do it. It's not hard.
It's not. And I just, what's been baffling me, because I'm watching all these lectures and speeches 20 years behind. And everything I'm hearing, like, this makes perfect sense. Because we've been talking about the community investment, and I'm like, all right, like, why hasn't it happened? Like, what?
It should have been happening.
Like, what happened?
It should have been happening. But again, when you've been robbed of your name, language, religion, culture, God, folkways, moreways, norms, and you've been given somebody else's name and told to worship somebody else's God, and instead of calling the actual God master, you've been told to call the white man who is your slave master.
Yeah.
Then there's a stripping of your natural nature. And so what happens is you try to latch on to anything because you don't know who you are. Imagine, man, do you know why Brother Martin Luther King was killed? It wasn't because he had a dream. It was because he woke up.
Yes.
If you listen to Martin Luther King from 1967 to the day he died, listen to the difference in his speeches from 66, maybe late 65 on to 68, and listen to him before then. Totally different man.
He
What
even
did he
said
say? I am integrating my people into a burning house.
He said his dream became a nightmare.
Yeah,
but they
he
only
said it
gonna
himself.
play you the audio of him saying, "I got a dream, I got a dream."
Yeah, but what they try to limit him to being is a civil rights leader. But what they don't know is that Martin Luther King set up what was called the Poor People's Campaign.
And that's what got. Oh, we can't have the lower.
We
can't have them come
and
up.
so when Martin was down, when he got assassinated, what people don't know is that he chose to go down for the last time to go and do that speech down when he was murdered. But he was actually supposed to leave the next day to go march in Chicago with some sanitation workers. Martin was talking about, look, he started coming around. Remember, he met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yep.
And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said of Martin, he said, brother, he would be one of our greatest leaders if he wasn't so fearful of his slave master. Martin was terrified of the white man. See, we ain't got no fear of the white man. We gonna call him what he is. He's Yakub's grafted devil, the skunk of the planet Earth.
You know how I feel about them.
That's
the
what he is.
of the
You see,
planet Earth.
and it's not out of emotion. We don't
No.
speak out of emotion. We speak out of actual facts. Your blood has been our blood, or his history has been written in our blood for every 1,000 years he's been here. He killed upwards of 1 million people every damn 1,000 years he's been here.
Everywhere he has went, he has caused havoc and hell to the natives
This is what he is.
in that land.
You know, this is what he, and he's
That's
not
the
native
act
to
of the
nowhere on the
devil.
planet Earth.
Mr. Farrakhan just posted that earlier this week on Instagram. It was like, and it was from the Donahue interview. I mean, from years ago, '93. Matter of fact, he was like, when you telling us to go back to Africa, if we told you to go back, where would you go?
Exactly.
have
You
no
are
place to
not
go.
native nowhere on the planet. You're not even a native European. You know why? Because we sent you up into the hills and cave sides of Europe, because we're the ones who stripped you down, put an apron on you, and marched you 22,000 miles across the hot burning sands of Saudi Arabia into the hills and cave sides of Europe. We did that. Hence, that's why your Greek organizations talk about crossing the burning sands, because you're mimicking what we did to you. Even your Masonics or Masons, which really means Muslim sons, they do the exact same thing. And you only got 33 degrees out of the Masonic order. Hell, we got 360 degrees. So at the end of the day, where is your natural home? You know where that natural home is? In us. Because they come from us. We're their natural home. So the scripture tells them, honor your mother and your father, that your days may be long in the land that thy Lord God giveth thee.
Knew he was gonna say.
Yeah, brother, come on, man.
So I understand what you're saying when you say they come for us. So for folks listening who don't know what that means, could you explain that to them?
Absolutely. Their father is one of our brothers. He's one of our, he's an uncle of ours or a brother of ours by the name of Yaqub.
Jacob of the Bible.
Jacob of the Bible. Yaqub, at 6 years old, which he was known at that particular time as being a big head scientist. He was 6 years old playing with two pieces of steel, and his uncle approached him, and he had noticed that in the steel they had magnetic attraction. And out of that, he realized that there's two germs in the black man. There's a black germ and a brown germ. And so he was born with a predetermined idea. He was already predicted to come. They knew one would come to pull out of us, out of the wheat gene, which is our brown gene. He would pull out of us a people from that brown gene and make that brown gene a people which takes it to its last stage and make him unlike the original man. And so when he noticed that, his uncle already understood what he was supposed to do, but he said, Uncle, I'm going to make a people. His uncle said to him, well, what will they do but cause mischief and the shedding of blood? He said to his uncle, I know what you know not. So he knew what was going to happen. And so he set forth by noticing that whenever the darker people, now mind you, go to Africa, brother, you got some people in Africa that's blue black.
Yeah.
I'm talking so black they cast a hue of blue. That's some real blackness. And to show you that we're natural people to the universe, if you go outside tonight and it's clear, you look and see stars in the middle of darkness, right? Now, if I take a look at the universe, there's 9 planets in our universe, right? In our solar, quote unquote, solar system, right? Furthest planet being Platoon or Pluto, which is 4,600,000,000 miles away. These planets are governed by a sun. The sun strikes each one of these planets on their axis, making them rotate at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. Right? Okay. If you take a look at the black man has 9 systems in his body, governed by a brain. That brain controls the 9 systems. But if I'm outside, now the sun sits in the center, almost center of of this particular universe, right? Governing these 9 systems. Our brain governs our 9 systems of our bodies. But if we are microcosms of the macrocosm, meaning we're small universes within the larger universe, then the cover of us have to be dark and the light has to be on the inside of us. But when you change that, that means it's darkness on the inside and light on the outside. If you're dark on the inside, then all you can do is nothing but wickedness, because wickedness is synonymous to darkness.
Teach the people.
But here we are, we got light on the inside.
Yeah.
Our nature is we're children of the sun. So the reason why we can't be affected by the sun is because the sun came out of us. So only thing the sun can do to us, black people, is give us energy.
Give us energy.
But remember, we turned them inside out. Their father, Yaqub, turned them inside out. So the sun, when it hits them, it gives them cancer called melanoma because they're dark on the inside. See, we're light on the inside. Light comes out. Go ahead, brother. So think about this, beloved. Their father, Yaqub, he said, I'm going to make a people. And his uncle said, what would it cause but the mischief and the shedding of blood? He said to his uncle, I know what you know not.
What do you mean by that?
He knew what his people were going to do. But he also knew that his people only had a time to rule. They were only given 6,000 years to rule. And to show you how slothful these people really are, they were supposed to be given 6,000 years to rule. They wasted 2,000 up in the caves. They lived in the hills and cave sides of Europe. See, they got the nerve to trick you into believing these were castles over there. Man, them was hills and caves. Brother, and that's what we think, oh man, I want to go to Europe. What black man in his right mind want to go over there and visit these doggone caves? That's what they are. But what he did, he put together a birth control method. Now, I'm not going to go into all of it, the whole thing, but just suffice it to say, for the benefit of making a long story short, we cast them out from among us, the people that were following Brother Yaqub. That was our brother. Mm-hmm. And it was 59,999 of them, him making 60,000. We put them on ships and we sent them and we supplied all of their needs for 20 to 25 years. Doesn't that sound familiar? But we sent them to an island called Patmos. Some say Pelon, the island of Pelon. That's how the scriptures call it. Oh, we say Pelon and the scriptures call it Patmos, where he set up a birth control method. And whenever there was a dark baby, what he would do was tell the mother, not allowing the mother to see it, but he set up strict laws with lawyers, nurses, and doctors. And he said because again, the blue-black people, if two blue-black people got together and had 3 babies, one of them babies going to be a little lighter. Mm-hmm. So what he did was the darker ones, he told the nurses to stick a needle in their brains.
Wow.
And then feed them to the wild animals, right? But if it was a lighter one, then he told her, this baby passed away, but it's gone on into heaven to prepare a place for you when you die. That sounds interesting, too, when it comes to what's being taught in the church, right? Mm-hmm. I go and prepare a place for you. But anyway, so the lighter one, he'd say, this is a special baby. And you should treat this baby special because, particularly of its color, because it's lighter, right? And so what he would do, this went on. Now, mind you, Yaqub only lived to be 150 years old. But the laws were so stringent and strong that they kept it going for 600 years. From that birth control method, first came the brown man. Then after the next 600 years came the red and yellow man. Mm-hmm. Then the next 600 years, the last ones, came the white man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you'd have seen that first white man, it'd have scared you to death because he looked like nothing but scabs. This is the white man. Now, when they tried to sail back amongst the original people, that's when we noticed that they were causing mischief among the people. And so we ended up rounding them up again and marched their backsides across the hot burning sands of Saudi Arabia into the hills and cave sides of Europe. Yeah. And they, to this particular day, mimic that right now. When black people go into a Greek organization, they don't know what they're mimicking. They don't know what they're mimicking.
I never understood why you would go to a historically black college and pledge a Greek fraternity.
Well, again, the slave was robbed of name. We don't even speak our natural language, beloved. So, they were robbed of everything.
So the story, the information that you're providing is why they say that everybody originated from the black man and the black man. I mean, even scientists say that the first person was a black man, and the way that you got all these different skin tones and ethnicities is basically saying through this process.
Yeah. You think about it. Even their white scientists went looking for the origin of man. Mendel went looking for the origin of man. He went to Europe, but he ain't stayed there long. He ended up in Africa.
Yeah.
And he found the bones of, and they named him Zenjanthropus. Zenj meaning black, anthropus meaning man. You see, so now you have Mendel proving that. But then you have Professor Leakey who determined that black skin is dominant and white skin is recessive. Kinky hair is dominant, thin, straight hair is recessive. Dark eyes are dominant, light eyes are recessive. You can get the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive. So science backs up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Which is why the blue-black was able to produce a lighter child.
Exactly. Matter of fact, blue-black can produce albino.
Yeah.
So in us is every hue. That's why I understand why brothers always want to go after these white women. Bro, you go get you a high yellow sister. We got every color you want in our spectrum, and we're not a race. We got to get out of that. We're not, black people are not race. We're not a race. A race has a beginning or ending. We are the fathers of civilization. We have no beginning, no, they can't find where we began.
I mean, they've been giving the brother Waka Flocka a lot of problems this week because he said he wasn't black, and he was trying to explain. He was trying to explain something, but they're giving him a lot of flack because
They should give him a lot of flack so we can bring the brother back to reality. That's my brother, and I love him, but we hate ourselves so much that we don't like to identify. It's just like when brothers go to try to get into Islam, you'll find a brother, he start trying to act like he's an Arab. So he starts, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm from the Middle East. Like, brother, you from the east side of Detroit off of Mac and Bewick. You need to stop. When did this accent come? Right. We hate ourselves so much. Even when we got into karate, we tried to be Oriental, or Korean or whatever. We get around white folks, and to this day, black people get around white people and change up their dialect. See, now me and you talking together, and we just kicking it, right? And I'd be like, yeah, brother, check this out. Did this here, Holmes. Blase split this, that, and the third. Now, if I just said that around some white man in the room, he'd have been like, I don't understand.
Right.
Well, what does that mean? Right. But you know where I'm going with what 100%. I'm saying. But our problem is we conform. You see, we conform to the white man. The scripture says it like this: be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Our problem, we conform to the white man. And the white man knows this. His nature is to feel superior. Even the white kids feel superior to a grown black man. Naturally, it's just automatic. You ain't got to teach them. They just, because they know that there are natural enemies. Everything in nature has an antithesis to it.
Yin and yang.
You see? And so everything has a natural enemy to it. The natural enemy to a lion is a hyena. The natural enemy to the big alligator is a hippopotamus. You see? So the natural enemy to fire is water. Well, the natural enemy to the black man is the white man. And that don't mean I got to hate you. But if I loved everybody like the honorable, like our brother, the Honorable Martin Luther King, if that love that he wanted prevailed, then white people would be no more, because genetic annihilation will be the order of the day, because you as a black man, me as a black man, you as a black man can't make nothing but a black baby. And so if we go to messing around with this woman, then eventually their race is done.
There's a date online when there will be no more blonde hair, blue-eyed.
And that's why you have the hate groups growing, because, and I'm going to tell you something, if we really respected white people, we'd leave their white women alone. Our black women will leave their white men alone. Because a black woman's womb is so powerful, it'll take the white man's seed and then turn it black. A white woman's seed can't grab a black man's seed and turn it white. That goes to show you there's a superiority in the genetics. It don't mean we're teaching black superiority, but science proves that we're superior genetically. So if we allowed the black man to fire at will, the white man will be no more. Genetic annihilation will be the order of the day.
Yeah, I think, given this rate, everybody gonna be beige in a minute.
Oh, it's gonna happen. They calling it the browning of America.
Yeah,
the browning of America. And again, if we really respected white people, we'd leave them alone. And I'm gonna tell you something: if we left them alone and separated from them, they'd kill themselves anyway. Because remember, World War I, they had nothing to do with black people. White folks kill each other.
White on white crime.
Always. When Germany, you got to keep in mind, Hitler was their brother. That's their brother. Why are we dealing with him? That's your brother.
That's your brother. Yeah.
See, so that problem happened with the first family of white folks, which was Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. That's white folks. They ain't had nothing to do with black people. We was way before them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a problem with the first family of white folks, and one brother killing the other one. But
man, I reference some of this stuff from time to time as a joke. Well, not even as a joke on the podcast, but I reference it. But we never got into it. We always said was going to do an episode like this, and actually, I say Yakub, or I'll say something like that or whatnot, and me and Dame will laugh, or people who listen know.
Right.
But I'm glad we got a chance to explain what that is and what that's about.
yeah, it's a lot more to it. But you know, this
definitely.
is just a cursory.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was explained to me, years ago by one of my brothers who's a Moor, and at the time we would just battle, hash it out, because I'm Baptist Christian, so he would come with this, and I come with a verse, or I come with this, and like we would just bat. And I brought him on the show at the end of last year. It was a great episode because slowly but surely I started understanding a little bit more. I'm like, it's gotta make a little bit of sense.
And you got to love and respect our brother, the Honorable Noble Drew Ali, and the body of knowledge that he left. As a matter of fact, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan just indicated to us last weekend that when we speak of the Honorable Noble Drew Ali and the Moors, that we should hold them in high reverence and speak respectively of them. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Noble Drew Ali and, of course, our brother, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, were forerunners of himself. And if you take a look at the Honorable Marcus Garvey, he was influenced by a Muslim by the name Deuce Muhammad. So you're looking at the influence of Islam, which is the nature of the black man. Islam just simply means entire submission to do the will of God. And matter of fact, Jesus was a Muslim. And many of your Christians get a tendency to, Jesus wasn't no Muslim, he's a Christian. Jesus never called himself a Christian. You can't find it nowhere in the scripture where he said, I am a Christian. Even with the 7 I ams. I am the light of the world. I am the true vine. And, all the I am. But he never said, I am a Christian. It was the enemies of Jesus who said, these are those, at Antioch, who said, these are those who follow Christ, and they call them Christians. He never called himself that. But, again, Islam has always been the order of the day when it comes to the entire universe, because everything was done by the will of God. Islam is not a religion. Islam is just a way of life. But because men and white men came along and always wanted to shrink something down and give it a title. Remember, white folks go around naming everything. Remember, we gave him the power to do it. Well, Adam, name this. That's them. We told him, go ahead and name it. His nature is to name everything. So white men like to name, okay, this practice is this practice is that. Well, because he introduced that mentality into the people, Allah said to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, this day I've perfected your religion for you and given you Islam as a religion. Wait a minute, what was Islam before then? If it was as a religion, it's just simply a way of life. Right. See, so since you want a religion, here, I'm going to give you this. That's almost like the Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
I'm telling you just to do yourself.
I saw, I'm in the debates, whatever. I saw Brother Polite. This was years ago, battling back and forth, but I can't think of the other brother's name, about Islam and what's our true religion and when did it start, and did Islam come from Christianity and whatnot. And it was, I saw both of their arguments, but I enjoy that whole
I mean, and my brother, and I love Brother Polite. He's more so off into ancient Egypt and all this and that. But you got to keep in mind, Islam was way before.
Yeah, and that's what
Egypt and Christianity. Even though when you look at the name, it's a good name, because Christian is one who was crystallized into oneness with God, following the example of Jesus the Christ. And Jesus himself said, I am the way. And he said, pick up not my cross, but pick up your cross and follow me. That means you follow me, you're going to have a cross. So Christian meaning crystallized into oneness with God, following the example of Jesus the Christ. Jesus also said, I am the light of the world. And to be a Jew means one who has crossed over into light. That's why they have those candles, And when he said, I am the light of the world, to be a Jew means one who has crossed over from darkness into light or from death into life. So then he also said, I myself can do nothing except what the Father wills. So that means he said, whatever I'm commanded to speak, that shall I speak. Whatever he commands me to do, that shall I do. That means he submitted his will to do the will of God. So it's right when Jesus said, in Christ all are made one. There's no division. But when you really look at it at the beginning, when you go into the book of Genesis, dear brother, and you get me started, man. I've been a minister in the Nation of Islam, brother, for years. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad always said, it's not that the ministers don't know what to say, they just don't know where to start. But once we get started, we go. But in the book of Genesis, the first commandment given to Adam was to be what? Fruitful and
multiply.
Now, in multiplication, a mathematical word, which means to do what? Grow exponentially, right? So if he said be fruitful and multiply, that's a direct commandment coming from Allah, God himself. So in him, when he gives you a commandment, there are words in the commandment, right? So the book also says in the beginning was the word, and the word was God. So when he gave the commandment, that was God in the commandment. So if anything that's opposite of the commandment given is devil. So what's the opposite of multiplication?
Division.
What does the white man do?
Divide and conquer.
You see? And so even his language divides. You see? So now when we look at that, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction, anything opposite of God is devil. But the minister gave us one of the most beautiful descriptions of what a devil is. He said a devil is deceptive intelligence that rationalizes disobedience to God.
Say that again.
Deceptive intelligence that rationalizes disobedience to God. Now, many of us, we rationalize when we're doing wrong. You know damn well what's right.
A lot of us are devils too.
Exactly. But so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, don't call him devil no more, brother. He said, call them the slave master's children or Satan. Why Satan? Because Satan's wickedness is not confined to himself. It spreads and infects others. Interesting how the scripture says it like this. Behold, I saw a pale horse with death as its rider and hell following closely behind. Now, when you take a look at the people running the world, it seems to be coming from the United States of America, right? Now, what's interesting is that if you look at America on the map, it looks like a running horse, doesn't it? Just take a look at how America is shaped. It looks like a running horse, right?
Interesting.
Now, what sits on the neck of that horse riding that horse is a mitten, right? Now, interesting that the hip-hop generation calls Michigan the murder mitten. But did you know that Detroit was called at one point the arsenal of democracy? The arsenal of democracy. That means that through Detroit, all war armament is made. During World War I and World War II, the plants shut down from making cars and started making tanks and war
that's
machines.
what the shutdown is.
Exactly.
That they go through.
So what they do, they call Detroit the arsenal of democracy. Hip-hop generation call it the murder mitten. The scripture says death as its rider.
Which is why what sparked the song We Almost Lost Detroit, because they was making that warhead and almost Gil Scott Heron.
So hence what you have is Detroit being the place where war armament is made and shipped throughout the world, where America goes in and brings in hell to wherever she goes. When she leaves, the people go from being in an okay condition to a hellish condition when she's gone. Went over to Iraq, supposedly freed Iraq, and now the people say, hell, we wish Saddam Hussein was back. We were in a better condition when Saddam was there. Went over to Vietnam, and the people in Vietnam are still recovering from the madness we sent them through. So hence death as its rider and hell following closely behind. But that's why God chose to come to Detroit
I was
to
going to
find
ask,
us.
is that? I mean, what a coincidence it is that the first mosque right here in the city of Detroit.
one.
Yeah. God, see, we say Allah appeared in the person of Master Brother Muhammad in 1930, July the 4th. And he was fulfilling the promise to Abraham when he said, "Know for a surety, Abraham, that your seed would be lost in a land that is not theirs, and that they would be afflicted, and that they would be among a strange people, and they would serve that people for 400 years. But in that time, Abraham, not sending somebody. I'm not going to send you Joshua. I ain't going to send you Noah. I ain't going to send you Muhammad. I ain't going to send you nobody. I'm coming myself." Book say, he said, "Prepare a body for me." Think about that, man. Then he said that he would come in sinful flesh to condemn sin in the flesh. Come in sinful flesh. That means he's going to come looking white. Coming to condemn sin in the flesh. His father was a black man. His mother was a white woman. Oh, we get off into that later, brother, but I can keep going with that, brother.
Interesting.
I know we got a whole lot of that subject, brother. We can talk all night. I know we. You mentioned boxing, that you was interested in
Absolutely.
boxing
I do
too.
want to wrap up with boxing. Don tell me you have a boxing gym.
Yeah.
It's my favorite sport of all time. I love boxing. I watch it each and every day.
Started boxing at 11 years old.
Okay.
11 years old, crunk. As a matter of fact, God rest his soul, Emmanuel Stewart was my godfather.
Oh, really?
He's my godfather. And we started at Crunk, and it's funny because Crunk just burnt down to the ground about a week or two ago.
Really?
Yeah,
Was that
burnt to the
wasn't
ground.
arson or nothing, was it?
Was it the original crowd?
It's suspicious. Yeah, the
Okay.
original Crunk burnt down to the ground.
Jesus.
But I started boxing at 11 years old. The gym that I have now is Hands On Boxing. We're on James Cousin between Puritan and Myers.
Oh, that's not far from me at all.
Yeah, we got the #1 amateur program in the country. As a matter of fact, some of our young brothers just got back from a national tournament. We got 2 more national tournament winners. And boxing, brother, that's my. See, people who know me, there's 3 things that I love. One is the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We can talk all night on that. The second thing is boxing. We can go all night with that. I'm talking literally. I'm a encyclopedia when it comes to boxing.
That's what's up.
And the third thing is dogs.
Okay.
I'm a dog man. I train dogs, and I've always liked alpha breed dogs.
Okay.
So those are my 3 things that I love. But when it comes to this boxing thing, brother, I've been a part of it since I was 11 years old, all the way up until this very day. I'm 50 now, so that's a hell of a lot of years that I put in with respect to that sport.
Always wanted to box. I've never boxed, but I've always wanted to box, man. I still do. I don't want to be professional in it, but I need to get in there and spar and just train. And
You might want to see people don't realize sparring. 3 minutes is a long time.
very long time.
It's a long time. You say 3 minutes, man, play. I can do 3 minutes. But when somebody laying hands on you like a Christian preacher at a Baptist convention and they tell you got 2 more minutes, brother, that sounds like he just told you had 2 more weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
um,
Just hitting the heavy bag by it with nobody hitting you back for 3 minutes is a workout.
I like I said, I've been a part of it for since I was 11 years, and that's 30 plus years. It's one of the best conditioning sports that you can be a part of. But to participate in the sport for long amounts of time, the damage is man. It's and may Allah bless our brother Roger Mayweather, which is Floyd Mayweather's uncle, brother. He's messed up now.
Yeah.
He's really in a bad place now. Matter of fact, he's going missing. He'll just take off and walk from the house, and they got to find him.
Yeah, I've been hearing behind.
So what they did was put a tracking device on his neck. So he go missing. They can check the tracking device. Where's Roger at? Yeah. So, but I mean, history is best qualified to reward research, and we know that boxing has damaged a lot of brothers. I've known people I personally know who died in the ring. You know, it's a gladiator sport.
It is.
You know, but it's addictive, man. Hell, it's addictive to fans. Imagine how it is with, you know, you got to be slightly crazy to like people punching you upside the head. You know, but once you learn it, it's like chess. You know, it's not checkers, it's chess.
Yeah. And I love the technical aspect of boxing. Like I just granted, who doesn't love a knockout? You know what I mean? Right. You see this level, but like I can appreciate the sweet science.
Yeah, yeah.
And I almost hate watching fights with some people because they just don't understand what they're looking at.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, this guy is running, or like, you don't understand what you're looking at. Like this is you don't see what he just did there. He took it like it's irritating sometimes.
That's because
the casuals.
That's because you're dealing with people who don't know the sport. Hence, they just want the brutality of the sport. I just want rock'em sock'em robot type thing. And those who don't know what rock'em sock'em robot is, I guess I just told my age. But you know, they want that bang 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 bang, where it's called the sweet science. There's a reason why it's called that. Boxing is a game of angles, you know, and you have to think your way through the fight, you know. And I always tell my fighters, you know, you got to fight to the bell, because you can get your rear whipped
at 2 minutes 59 seconds,
and you got 2 seconds left to go, and boom, you win the fight. You know, so it's a game of ebb and flow. You know, things can change on a dime. One punch can end the fight, so on and so forth.
It brings. I think about Meldrick Taylor versus Julio Cesar Chavez.
Oh my goodness!
5 seconds left to go in the round, and the referee.
That's
Richard played him.
You know what's funny? My fighter, we fought. One of my fighters, Brother Cornelius X, is Brother Cornelius Locke. His name is Cornelius. His slave name was Cornelius Locke. We were the co-main event. On the Floyd Mayweather Shane Mosley card. So I'm in I had to be in Las Vegas for 30 days for training camp. We in training camp with Floyd Mayweather. And Richard Steele had fighters that he's training in Vegas. And so I hired some of his fighters as training partners. So me and Richard Steele hung out quite a bit. So I had an opportunity to ask my brother, you know, I say, man, what you know, I gotta, this was early on. This was like the first 2 or 3 days we were there. And he brought his fighters over because we were paying his fighters for sparring sessions, and we talking right after the fight, right after the training session one day. We sitting in the locker room at Floyd's in the gym. I say, man, you got to tell me, man, what made you stop that fight with Meldrick Taylor? He said, Brother Mouchettee, he said, man, I'm in there, and I'm hearing bones crack, meaning Julio Cesar Chavez was punishing Meldrick Taylor. Now, what we looking at on the outside, Meldrick was hitting him with the boom, 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 boom. But Julio Cesar Chavez was boom, boom, boom. He said he was hearing Meldrick throughout the fight going, You know, he boom, boom, boom. But that's that Philly in him. You know, that Philly dog in him, right? But boom, boom. And then he said when the last shot he hit him with, it sounded like a shotgun. Bow. When Meldrick dropped. Now, Meldrick, to me, got up without even grabbing the ropes. He stood up. All he had to do was go, you okay? Walk to me.
It was 5 seconds left in the fight.
But he don't know that.
Yeah.
He told me, I didn't know that. You know, he was like, I was just protecting the fighter.
Yeah.
Now, I respect that. I respect that, Richard. But you can tell Meldrick was not the same after that fight.
It was all downhill.
That fight, it didn't make a difference if Meldrick's hand would have been raised. Yeah. Meldrick was destroyed. That fight destroyed Meldrick. Yeah. Matter, you got to keep in mind they fought again. They fought again, a rematch. He beat the brakes off Meldrick the second time. It was terrible, man. That beating was just a raw beating.
Some people get changed in the ring, and they will never be the same.
I've seen fighters age in the round. You know, you got to keep in mind, man. Roy Jones Jr. was at the pinnacle of boxing. You know, but you can't make certain mistakes, man. Roy Jones Jr. went up to heavyweight, right?
Come back down.
And he fought Jean Ruiz and won the heavyweight title, did something no middleweight had ever done. He should have retired then. Yep, because he'd been in the pantheon of the greatest fighters of all time.
He's fighting next month, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he been getting knocked out. People been knocking him out. I mean, but see what happened is, he go over to Ukraine and over in Russia, and they're giving him the type of money over there to fight that he was getting here when he was fighting the Antonio Tarvers and the Bernard Hopkins of the world. He's getting that kind of money over there. So really, he's just chasing the dollar. He's chasing the dollar, and that's why I respect my brother Andre Ward. Andre Ward said, you know what, there's a particular pinnacle that I want to get to. When I get to it, when I reach it, I'm done. He wanted to be considered pound for pound the greatest fighter. He didn't duck anybody, and he's retiring undefeated. So at the end of the day, you're gonna have think about it.
And I got a gold medal.
And I got a gold medal. Yeah, think about that. Come on, man. The man have reached the pinnacles of boxing. So what do I need to stick around for? And really sticking around too long in this sport, man, we've seen it from Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. I mean, you can run the role, man.
Honestly, I think Hitman stayed around a little bit too long.
Because he was chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
Chasing the dollar.
And
And
once
Tommy was the most exciting fighter in boxing because there's two absolutes in boxing. A puncher will always be able to punch, and a person with a glass jaw can't buy a chin.
Right.
But Tommy was the complete absolute. So he was guaranteed to give you an exciting fight. Somebody going to sleep. Either it's going to be him or the other person. Remember, Tommy's the only man that ever knocked out Roberto Duran. Roberto was never... Marvelous Marvin Hagler couldn't knock out Roberto Duran. Think about that, man. Roberto Duran came up from the lightweight division. The first time Roberto Duran got knocked down, he got knocked down by a man by the name of Esteban de Jesus. Now, again, I'm a boxing enthusiast. He got knocked down by a man by the name of Esteban de Jesus. He was only 16 years old, turned pro. He was a baby. He'd been along that, but he done came up through boxing all these different weight classes. He ended up boxing. He ended up fighting James Toney, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Think
about it.
Right. This dude that came up, he ended up fighting light heavyweights and heavyweights. But he was called the Hands of Stone for a reason. Because nobody could knock this dude out. But Tommy, boom, on the chin. He fell like a tree. And nobody knocked him out before then. Nobody knocked him out since.
Yeah. I just watched because it was it 25 years since the Sugar Ray and then fight. I watched it the other night, and just cause.
yeah. But it's funny. I was talking with some of our beloved brothers here in Detroit. You have K9. I had him on, Brother Reggie Reg and I. We had a Sunday morning talk show, and this particular day. Reg couldn't make it. I held the talk show, but I invited K9, Jimmy Paul, Milton McCrory. Who else? K9, Jimmy Paul, Milton McCrory. It was one other fighter that I invited. I can't remember who it was. But we all had him. We had him in the studio, and of course the subject came up: who is your top 5 pound for pound fighters on your list? And it's interesting how everybody got their top 5. Now. Fighters, bar none, across the board, most fighters, 95 to maybe 98, 90, close to 99% will tell you the best fighter pound for pound of all time is Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yes. That's what everybody's going to tell you.
Bar none. But you have some others who they going to say some stupid stuff. But it's the next 4.
See, the only reason that... Well, because that's like when in hip hop when they ask who your top 5, like you got to say Biggie, you got to say Pop. Like
you don't have to.
I know, but people do it. Like
exactly.
So, for an example, so for Sugar Ray Robinson, I understand it. I never watched him live. I can go watch YouTube tapes, whatever. But it's not the same because I didn't live in that era.
Exactly.
If I see a boxer right now fight and I watch his whole career, I can tell you the level of competition he was fighting. I know the people who weren't superstars on his resume, I know how good these fighters were. I've seen these people before. So if I'm 35, so if I've never seen Sugar Ray Robinson fight for real, I've seen highlights and I've seen actual fights on YouTube. If you're younger than me and you explaining to me how this was the best fight, you don't necessarily know that for yourself because you didn't see it.
But see, here's the measuring stick that you have to measure it by. You got to measure it by the frequency of the times that they fought back then. They were fighting every week and a half, 2 weeks. I mean, they were fighting, 2 weeks.
Sometimes fighting the same guy 6 times.
Getting knocked out, and then they end up fighting 2 weeks later. So they were fighting frequently. Then you looking at the level of competition. And then you look at the paddings of the gloves. Then you look at the rules during that particular time. There are different measuring sticks that you have to measure it by. So when you take a look at the measuring stick, just like you have let's take a look at the greatest running backs of all time. Some people will say, well, Walter Payton because he broke the record. But I mean, wait, you got to take a look at what Jim Brown had to do. They were damn near playing in hats. The helmets weren't as
got you. Yeah.
Technologically sound as they are now. So when you look at the rules back then as opposed to the rules now, look how many yards he gained with the rules back then. Big difference. So those are the measuring sticks that you have to measure by. But some people say, well, I didn't get a chance to see them. See, so my top 5 list has people on it that people never heard of.
Of course.
Because I seen these people with my own eyes.
Yeah.
When I look at my top 5, Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, sorry, he don't come in the top. He don't make. He's in my top 5, but he don't make it the top 3.
This is what I understand. I mean, it's hard to have this conversation with people sometimes, but like, you can't be the best ever if you was taking L's in your prime.
You can say that. But at the end of the day, you also got to keep in mind.
And if you.
Muhammad Ali was a monster, man.
Absolutely, 100%, absolutely.
And remember, his L's only came after the 3-year layoff, and when his Parkinson's was really setting in, and people didn't know. You see, so like his first L didn't come until his comeback. Remember, his first L came when he came back and fought Joe Frazier.
Yeah,
so he
15 rounder,
and he couldn't move like he. So he had to change his whole style up, which makes him the greatest because he was able to adapt to his shortcomings and still win.
I think, like, for an example, Roy Jones as well as Muhammad Ali suffered from the same thing because they were so naturally gifted that they didn't do the fundamentals correctly.
Yeah,
but
it worked for them.
Yeah, I can pull my chin straight back, right? But when when I lose that split second, now when I pull my chin straight back, I'm getting caught. I'm going.
But see, Ali was able to adapt better so than Roy Jones.
Yeah.
See, Roy Jones was a natural athlete. Everything with respect to the fundamentals of boxing, you're correct. They did absolutely wrong. Your chin, you don't pull back with your hands down. You see, you don't fight straight up. You make sure your chin is tucked. You see, and when you shoot your right hand, you don't just shoot it with your chin up in there. But athletically, they were able to get away with it because their twitch muscles got them out of the way. Muhammad Ali's, it wasn't the fact that he was doing it wrong. Remember, he was suffering from Parkinson's and didn't know it. They learned what it was later on. Even in the movie, they try to make it. Will Smith say, my legs are not moving. Feel like I'm walking in water or sand. Ali knew that. Something ain't right. His speech started slurring and they started thinking it was being punch drunk. But no, he adapted because that's when he came with the terminology rope-a-doe.
Yeah, you think there's a correlation between his MS and the boxing? Because I know they're not mutually exclusive to each other. But like,
make no mistake, when they talk about CTE in football, that remember the brain damage started. The study started with fighters, with boxers. If you go and look at Will Smith's movie that he's dealing with the football,
I didn't watch it. I couldn't take the action.
If you get a chance, check it out. But it's dealing with CTE.
Yeah.
And many of the fighters suffer from that CTE. Remember the brain don't have anything holding it steady. It's just on a piece of meat. And it's floating in fluids inside of our head. So somebody hitting you, your brain bumping up against your skull, that's damaging the brain. So many fighters, man, they suffer from CTE. Yeah. But I can talk about boxing.
Yeah, I'm about to say I can talk about
brother.
Boxing all day, man. I definitely just want to thank you again for coming in and
pleasure's mine, brother.
Sharing stories with us, dropping knowledge with us,
all praise
and being able to talk a little bit of boxing. I mean, literally, those 3 things is what you do in the barbershop. You know what I mean?
That's right. Or maybe some politics.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So one day we probably have you back.
Yes,
we can talk.
I'd love to come back, brother.
Pretty much for anything. And I'm very interested in the five spokes program because we got to. I mean, we got to get that up.
I have a Facebook page up now. Just just a simple page right now, just to kind of get people a little bit wet their palate a little bit about it. Ultimately, I'm setting up some other stuff because I'm dealing with Ceasefire Youth Initiative, which is Brother Reggie Ridge and I's 501c3.
Okay.
We're actually in different schools. Sister Sharon McPhail, we're in her school. We done spoke in over 1,000 schools in the years that we've had our 501c3. So that keeps me busy, not to mention, the boxing and so on and so forth. But at a certain point, I'm going to hunker down. And matter of fact, I got a meeting with my brother Sam Riddle. I got a meeting with him tomorrow, and we're going to get this thing off and running and get the bank account set up and then get some. I got a brother of mine. You remember Brother Anthony?
Yeah.
The great computer wizard. He's also in the graphics and so on and so forth. Matter of fact, he used to be your man Lil Wayne's road manager. People didn't know that. He was Lil Wayne's road manager. Matter of fact, Lil Wayne's book was written by Anthony. Yeah. Long. See, we on a small world. 6 degrees of separation. But we're gonna sit down, Brother Sam Riddle. We're gonna get this website put together so it can be transparent. $1. That's all we're looking for. $1 a month from everybody who's a part of the forgotten of Detroit. $1 a month. Everybody can give $1 a month.
$12 a year. Come on, fam.
Come on, man. Come on.
Too hot and ready's with the taxes added in. I mean,
Man,
come on.
you know what I mean?
What
Right.
I'm saying? Literally, it's too hot and ready's.
Exactly. So we're putting it together. But I appreciate you, brother, allowing me to run my mouth, I guess you can say, on the show.
Definitely been a pleasure. And I got some stuff to ask you off air.
Yeah, please. Come on, man.
So-
Anytime,
This
brother.
had to happen. We had to put this
And
together.
I got to thank my brother Donnie. Brother Donnie say, brother, I want you to come on my brother's show. Anytime that brother say, let's do something. I'm gonna take, man, and I know we got to go off air, but I had did a celebrity basketball game in the city of Detroit, and I was facing a lot of opposition, but there were two brothers who was right there by my side through all of this opposition. And that was my brother Donnie and my brother Marcel. May Allah be pleased with him. He passed on now. He was the brother that got shot downtown. But those two brothers was right there by my side. Yep. You know what I mean? And Brother Donnie and his dad had the limousine service. We picking people up from the airport. And, yeah, brother, so that brother there, that's my man, 100 grand.
That's what's up. All right, man. Like we say every week, I'm not saying we the Rockefeller podcast, but we are Jay and Dame. Peace.